Picture this. It's 3 a.m., and while most rookies are sleeping, one player is already in the facility, studying film. His name? Shilo Sanders. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Despite doing everything right, despite earning praise from coaches and teammates, despite proving himself on every snap, insiders are whispering that he might not even make it to the regular season. You won't believe what I discovered when I dug deeper into this story. This isn't just about football anymore. This is about a system that claims to reward merit but might be punishing a young man for something completely beyond his control: his last name. I've been covering the NFL for years, and what's happening to Shilo Sanders right now exposes something darker about this league than most fans realize. By the end of this video, you'll understand why his potential cut isn't just a roster decision. It's a statement about who the NFL really wants in their league. And trust me, the evidence I'm about to show you will change how you see every merit-based decision in professional sports. But first, let me tell you exactly what Shilo has been doing that should guarantee him a roster spot. Here's something that will shock you. Shilo Sanders isn't just competing against other safeties for a roster spot. He's competing against the ghost of his father's legacy that haunts every NFL boardroom. Let me paint you a picture of what's really happening behind closed doors. When Deion Sanders played, he didn't just break records, he broke rules. Not the written ones, but the unwritten ones that said black athletes should be humble, quiet, and grateful. Deion was loud, proud, and unapologetically confident. He celebrated his blackness, his success, and his individuality without asking permission from anyone. Now here's where it gets interesting and infuriating. While fans love prime time, many NFL executives never forgot that he did it all on his own terms. They tolerated his success because they had to, but they never embraced the disruption he represented. And now, 25 years later, his son is paying the price for his father's audacity. Think about this for a moment. If Shilo's last name was Johnson, Smith, or Williams, if he came from a safer football family, would we even be having this conversation? Would his leadership on special teams be questioned? Would his communication skills be scrutinized? Would every tackle be analyzed for signs of entitlement? The uncomfortable truth is that Shilo isn't being evaluated as Shilo Sanders, the player. He's being judged as Shilo Sanders, the son of the man who refused to shrink himself to fit into the NFL's comfort zone. Every time he makes a play, executives aren't thinking about his technique, they're thinking about the press conferences his father might hold. Every time he shows leadership, they're not seeing a natural captain, they're seeing potential distractions. But here's what makes this even more twisted. Shilo has gone out of his way to be everything his father supposedly wasn't. He's been humble in interviews, focused on team success, and avoided any hint of controversy. He's literally the anti-Deion in terms of personality, yet he's still being punished for crimes he never committed. This is what systemic bias looks like in 2024. It's not overt racism or obvious discrimination. It's the subtle, insidious way that a young man's merit gets overshadowed by fears of what his success might represent. It's the way character concerns get whispered about a player who has shown nothing but character. And the most heartbreaking part? Shilo knows it. You can see it in his interviews, in the way he carefully chooses his words, in how he goes above and beyond to prove he's different from his father. He's not just fighting for a roster spot. He's fighting against decades of resentment toward a man who dared to be great on his own terms. The question isn't whether Shilo deserves a chance. The question is whether the NFL is brave enough to give it to him. And based on what I'm hearing from inside sources, the answer might terrify you. You know what's absolutely mind-blowing about this situation? The NFL has spent decades telling us that the tape doesn't lie. Coaches preach it, scouts live by it, and fans believe it. But when it comes to Shilo Sanders, it seems like the league has collectively decided to look the other way. Let me break down exactly what the film shows, because this is where the story gets really infuriating. At Colorado, Shilo wasn't just another safety filling a spot. He was the quarterback of the secondary. Watch any game from his college career, and you'll see something that NFL scouts claim to value above everything else: football intelligence. Here's a specific example that blew my mind. In Colorado's game against Oregon, there's a play where Shilo recognizes a route combination pre-snap, adjusts the coverage, and makes a tackle for loss on what should have been a 15-yard gain. That's not athleticism, that's pure football IQ. That's the kind of play that should have scouts salivating. But it gets better. When you watch his special teams tape from college, you see a player who doesn't just run down the field. He understands leverage, timing, and pursuit angles. There's a punt coverage play against USC where he single-handedly prevents a touchdown by taking the perfect angle and making a textbook tackle in space. These are the moments that separate NFL players from college players. Now, fast forward to Tampa Bay's training camp. According to multiple reports, Shilo has been flying around on special teams, earning praise from coaches, and showing the kind of instincts that can't be taught. Veterans, guys who have been in this league for years, are taking notice of his preparation, his communication, and his willingness to do the dirty work. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Despite all of this evidence, despite the film clearly showing an NFL caliber player, draft analysts completely ignored him. Not a single team used even a 7th-round pick on him. Why? Because they weren't evaluating the player, they were evaluating the narrative. And now, even with improving himself in camp, insiders are suggesting he might still get cut. Think about that for a second. A player who has done everything right, who has shown up on film, who has earned respect from teammates and coaches might lose his job not because of what he can't do, but because of who he is. This is where the eye in the sky doesn't lie philosophy reveals itself as complete hypocrisy. The eye in the sky is showing a player who belongs, but the eyes in the front office are looking at something else entirely. They're not seeing missed tackles or blown coverages, they're seeing a last name that makes them uncomfortable. The most damning part of all this? J.J. Roberts, his main competition, received guaranteed money and a pre-draft visit despite having less impressive tape. That's not an evaluation based on merit, that's an evaluation based on comfort level. And that should terrify every fan who believes this league operates on fairness. The film doesn't lie, but apparently, the NFL has stopped watching. Now we're getting to the part of this story that will absolutely infuriate you, because it exposes how the NFL uses money to justify decisions that have nothing to do with football. Buckle up, because this financial manipulation is more calculated than you think. Here's the smoking gun that proves this entire situation is rigged. J.J. Roberts, Shilo's main competition for the final safety spot, received hundreds of thousands of dollars in guaranteed money when he signed with Tampa Bay. Shilo Sanders? He got zero. Not a single guaranteed dollar. And that difference isn't just about money, it's about creating a predetermined outcome. Let me explain how this shell game works, because it's more sinister than most fans realize. When a team gives a player guaranteed money, they're not just investing in his potential, they're creating a financial incentive to keep him. Every dollar guaranteed becomes a sunk cost that influences future decisions. It's basic psychology. Humans hate admitting they made a mistake, especially an expensive one. But here's where it gets really twisted. Roberts also received what's called a 30 visit, an official pre-draft workout where teams fly prospects to their facility for evaluation. This isn't just about football evaluation, it's about creating a paper trail. When decision time comes, executives can point to that visit and say, "We invested time and resources in this player. We brought him in, we evaluated him thoroughly, and we made a commitment." Shilo never got that visit. He never got that evaluation. He never got that investment. From day one, the deck was stacked against him, not because of his ability, but because of the league's comfort level with his family name. Now, Here's the part that should make every fan question everything they believe about merit-based decisions. According to insider Scott Reynolds, the Buccaneers are leaning toward keeping Roberts specifically because of that financial investment, even though Shilo has outperformed him in camp. Read that again. They're choosing the inferior player because they paid him more money up front. This is how systemic bias operates in 2024. It's not a coach saying, "We don't want the Sanders kid because of his father." It's a front office creating financial structures that predetermine outcomes while maintaining plausible deniability. They can cut Shilo and say, "It was a numbers game," while ignoring the fact that they rigged the numbers from the beginning. Think about the message this sends to every undrafted player watching. Your performance doesn't matter if the team hasn't invested in you financially. Your work ethic, your leadership, your results on the field, none of it matters if you don't have guaranteed money protecting you. But the most infuriating part? This same organization will hold press conferences talking about competition and earning your spot while operating a system designed to protect their financial investments over their best players. This isn't just about Shilo Sanders anymore. This is about whether the NFL's claims of meritocracy are complete lies. And based on what's happening in Tampa Bay, the answer is becoming crystal clear. Here's something that will make you question everything you think you know about how NFL rosters are built. Shilo Sanders has done exactly what every coach in America tells undrafted players to do: dominate special teams. And it might not matter at all. Let me tell you why this is so significant. Because special teams is supposed to be the great equalizer in the NFL. It's where effort trumps pedigree, where a 7th-round pick can outshine a first-rounder, where undrafted players make their names and earn their paychecks. For decades, coaches have preached the same gospel. If you want to make this team, you better contribute on special teams. And by every account, Shilo has been exceptional. We're talking about a player who has shown range on kick coverage, communicated effectively in chaotic situations, and earned praise from special teams coordinator Keith Armstrong, a coach who doesn't hand out compliments lightly. Armstrong has specifically mentioned Shilo's understanding of leverage, his willingness to throw his body into contact, and his ability to make plays in space. But here's what makes this even more impressive. Special teams isn't just about running fast and hitting hard. It requires incredible football intelligence. You have to understand spacing, timing, and situational awareness while running full speed down a field with 10 other players. You have to make split-second decisions about when to engage blockers, when to shed them, and how to maintain your lane integrity while pursuing the ball carrier. Shilo has mastered all of this. There are reports of him making tackles that other players missed, of him being in the right place at the right time consistently, of him elevating the play of those around him through his communication and energy. This is exactly what teams claim to want from their special teams units. Yet somehow, none of this seems to matter. Despite excelling in the one area that's supposed to guarantee roster spots for undrafted players, Shilo is still fighting for his NFL life. Why? Because the rules that apply to everyone else apparently don't apply to him. Think about this. How many undrafted players have made NFL rosters primarily because of their special teams contributions? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. It's the most reliable path from camp body to roster player in professional football. But for Shilo, even excellence in this area isn't enough to secure his spot. And here's the part that should terrify every young player watching. If special teams dominance can't save Shilo Sanders, what hope do other undrafted players have? If the league's most meritocratic phase of the game can be ignored when it's inconvenient, then what does that say about the entire system? The message being sent is clear. The rules are different for different people. The pathways that work for some players are mysteriously closed for others. And the criteria for making a roster can change depending on who you are and where you come from. This isn't just about one player anymore. This is about whether the NFL's promises to undrafted players are worth anything at all. And right now, it's looking like they might not be. Here's the most telling part of this entire story. and it reveals everything you need to know about how the modern NFL really operates. The people who actually work with Shilo Sanders every day want him on the team. The people who make the decisions have never stepped foot on the practice field. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening inside the Tampa Bay facility, because this is where the truth lives. Veterans, guys who have been in this league for years, who have seen every type of player come and go, are taking notice of Shilo in all the right ways. They see a rookie who shows up early, stays late, and treats every rep like it could be his last. In meetings, he's asking the right questions. Not the questions of someone trying to impress coaches, but the questions of someone genuinely trying to understand the system and help his team win. Position coaches have praised his ability to process information quickly and communicate it effectively to his teammates. This isn't manufactured leadership. This is organic respect being earned through daily actions. But here's what makes this even more significant. NFL locker rooms are brutal meritocracies. Players don't care about your draft status, your guaranteed money, or your family name. They care about one thing: can you help us win? And by all accounts, Shilo has passed that test with flying colors. Veterans have specifically mentioned his impact on special teams, his willingness to do the dirty work, and his ability to raise the intensity level of those around him. These are the intangibles that coaches claim to value above everything else. These are the traits that separate NFL players from college players. Yet none of this matters in the boardroom. While players and coaches are evaluating Shilo based on his daily contributions, executives are evaluating him based on risk management, media perception, and financial considerations. They're not asking, can this player help us win? They're asking, what problems might this player create? This disconnect is absolutely damning. The people who know football, the coaches and players who work with Shilo every day, see an NFL player. The people who know business, the executives who make roster decisions, see a potential liability. And here's the most infuriating part. This same front office will hold press conferences talking about culture and character while ignoring the fact that their own locker room has embraced a player they're considering cutting. They'll talk about wanting high-character guys while potentially releasing someone who has earned the respect of every high-character guy in their building. Think about what this says about the modern NFL's priorities. Performance on the field matters less than perception in the media. Respect from teammates matters less than comfort in the boardroom. Merit matters less than risk management. If Shilo gets cut despite earning the locker room's respect, it will send a clear message to every player in that building: your opinion doesn't matter. Your evaluation of teammates doesn't count. The people making decisions about your team have never been in your huddle. This isn't just about one roster spot. This is about whether the NFL still values the voices of the people who actually play the game. So here we are, at the moment of truth. Shilo Sanders has done everything the NFL claims to reward. He's shown up early, worked harder than his competition, earned respect from teammates, and excelled on special teams. He's been the model of what an undrafted player should be. Yet he might still be sent home. Not because he failed, but because the system was never designed for him to succeed. If this happens, if Shilo gets cut despite outperforming expectations, it won't just be a personal tragedy. It will be a revelation. It will expose the NFL's meritocracy as a carefully constructed lie, designed to make fans believe that hard work and talent are all that matter. But here's what gives me hope, and why you need to pay attention to what happens next. This story is bigger than football. Every young athlete watching right now is learning a lesson about what it really takes to succeed in America. They're seeing whether the system rewards excellence or punishes identity. The decision about Shilo Sanders will echo far beyond Tampa Bay's training camp. It will tell us whether the NFL is ready to judge players by their character and performance, or whether it will continue to penalize sons for the courage of their fathers. And here's my prediction: if they cut Shilo, the backlash will be swift and severe. Because fans aren't stupid. They can see talent when it's right in front of them. They can recognize injustice when it's this obvious. The NFL has a choice to make. They can embrace a young man who represents everything they claim to value: work ethic, leadership, and a team-first mentality. Or they can send a message that some names will never be welcome, no matter how much they deserve to be there. What do you think will happen? Drop your predictions in the comments below, because I have a feeling this story is far from over. And if you want to stay updated on how this unfolds, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because when this decision gets made, you're going to want to hear my reaction immediately. The tape doesn't lie, but we're about to find out if the NFL is still watching.